You know what? I think a lot of the time you guys as viewers tend to forget just how much time we creators and YouTubers actually spend on this site. I mean, to many it's a hobby, but for a lot of people then it's a full-time job, not only to upload and create videos and edit them of course, but actually go out and seek information and like inspiration for your next creative project. That's something that can not only take hours, but entire dedicated days to do. So it should probably come as no real surprise to anyone that if there were to be any demographic of people that have favorites when it comes to YouTubers, then it would be someone who's a YouTuber themselves. Good day DPs, my name is Scripps, and today I'm doing an art style challenge of my top 3 favorite art YouTubers. So already we have a problem. A lot of the people who do these sort of art style challenges has a primary OC or like a flagship character that they like drawing all the time, but I don't have one. So I ended up picking this cute character design that I drew a while ago that's based on another character design for a game called Just Shapes and Beats that's way more minimalistic, but I kinda like the anime girl design, so we're sticking to this one. It's also pretty close to what I'd consider my own art style at this point, so hopefully we'll be able to do one of those side by sides so we can compare all the art styles later on. But with that out of the way, then let's skip on to the list and actually talk about my favorite YouTubers, my favorite art YouTubers. Number 1, for pretty much as long as I can remember, then I've been interested in art, but from a distance. See, I never really picked up art or doing any sort of drawing related activity since I grew older or after I grew out of childhood, so I had kind of gotten into the mentality that that was a period that's over for me and that this whole art thing wasn't really something that I was ever going to be a part of. Or at least that's what I thought, until I encountered this one YouTuber while browsing around for inspiration for my new YouTube channel. She was a growing animation YouTuber, but little did I know at the time that this girl would be carrying the comeback of animation on YouTube on her meek shoulders. Jaiden Animations. As you could probably tell, since I drew a little version of her in the corner. She's been a huge inspiration to me, and I think it's pretty confident to say that this channel wouldn't be where it is without her, because it would have probably started out way differently, since I actually started off my channel by doing those kind of same storytime animation videos as she did. Please, don't go back and watch them. Unlike me though, then she was actually pretty good at animating even when she started off, but still she of course moved and changed and evolved her art style throughout the years, turning actually away from the chubby kinda cutesy round designs and moving more into the squarish tall designs. Which is actually sort of interesting because if you compare her to a lot of other different art YouTubers out there or animation storytime YouTubers, then they sort of aim for the more roundish and cutish designs. And it's a very easy way to make your characters and your visuals be a lot more likable if all your characters are cute, by say chipifying them or giving them huge gigantic cute eyes and making the characters all short and stout. Which granted is also something that Jaiden did in the beginning of her YouTube career. But as her channel grew, then she sort of learned and started to embrace these lanky limbs and the different potential that they can actually add for comedic effect when it comes to animation. The more anatomically correct body, making it more easy to exaggerate poses and make them fun to look at. Or even just make it more personality and emotion showing when a person is standing in a neutral pose. In short, then it's just a very refined art style for animation, which makes it very nice and easy to draw. And because I've already watched her videos, then I have such a huge visual library of different poses in this exact art style that drawing her sitting like this, unlike other art styles, is actually not very hard at all. Now when it comes to actually converting the last drawing into this art style, then I did still run into a few complications with the main design and the ways I needed to change it, but it wasn't really anything brutal. I basically just needed to simplify the whole design since of course Jaiden does animation, so everything is sort of simplified. You don't want anything that's too detailed, so I removed some unnecessary details here and there. I also desaturated the colors a little bit, not only because in the animation she doesn't have any colors that exactly scream, but even in her own DeviantArt drawings she either doesn't really color them or then she colors them in very desaturated tones as opposed to these very vibrant, very contrastful colors, which is absolutely not a criticism. I actually think it looks great in her art style. And I actually even think it complements her personality a little bit because, from what I can tell, then she seems to be a very mellow person. But overall, a very nice art style to jump into. I was surprised by how easy I actually found it to sort of replicate it. It's kind of spooky actually. But the judgment on how well I did, that's completely up to you guys. So if you feel like I did anything out of place, feel free to burn me down in the comments. 10 out of 10 with Jaiden again. Number 2. Hey everybody, it's LavenderTown, and I hope you're somewhere cozy and safe, because LavenderTownie's creepypasta drawings are probably one of my favorite series on YouTube. I'm just kidding, that's not right. She's one of my favorite channels on YouTube as well. Hayley Newsome, or LavenderTownnie as she's more known on YouTube, is an art YouTuber that has something that a lot of art YouTubers don't. A degree! But I'm serious, although a lot of people on YouTube have a degree when it comes to art and stuff, then a few utilize it the same way that Hayley does. She's created a huge repertoire of different videos to help out new and upcoming artists with pretty much anything art related. She teaches how to do cartoon anatomy, she teaches how to do shading properly, but she also talks about if art school is even worth it for you, what kind of people and what kind of teachers you can expect to meet there and what kind of situations you could end up in. She makes a lot of informative but at the same time very entertaining content that I think is an absolute must to watch if you're a beginner artist. More recently, she started to loosen up a bit more and just do a lot of art stuff for fun, like her BitLife playthrough, where she illustrates all the things that happens in a text adventure game, or by doing a lot of different character designs, where she for example turns seasons and snacks and energy drinks into character designs in her absolutely wonderful and extremely unique art style. This is what really makes her stand out, because she doesn't need a watermark, she doesn't need any sort of branding, her art style pretty much does it for her. And it helps making the whole teaching experience fresh, because we've all seen different videos teaching people how to draw manga or how to draw specific like anime anatomy or something like that, but it's more interesting being taught how anatomy works and how cartoon anatomy works with someone who has such an exaggerated art style like Hayley. Her characters usually have big expressive eyes, not like anime in any sort of way, but almost like giant fish eyes because they are giant and they got giant pupils to boot. But funny enough, then these actually serve a purpose. In a lot of her drawings, the pupils of the characters actually show some sort of symbol, like say if someone is feeling bad or something, they got like a skull symbol as their pupil instead. It's very cartoony and I like it a lot, but it's very much like a staple of her art style at this point, even though from what I've heard then I think she's borrowed it from somewhere else. Her limb anatomy also switches completely from design to design. If you watch her videos, then you know she's fully capable of drawing like beautiful men and women, fully anatomically correct, and she does this a lot with different designs, with all the limbs working correctly, but then she also runs a comic where her main character doesn't even have bones in her arms, it's more like noodle arms. And if my memory serves me right, they don't have feet either, they just have stubs. So of course I ended up borrowing more from this design, because I wanted to pick Hayley at her absolute most cartoonish and most like her style-ish. That and her character planchette also just fits the design too well, or it transitions too well from my design into her art style if I kind of take some inspiration from her. She's even got the same bangs, she's got like the big puffy shoulder pads and the triangular shape language with the dress. It all works out too well, so who knows, I might have even ended up borrowing too much. But I really like how this design ended up working out in the end. I also like the kind of blob that I decided to place around her. If there was anything that I would change about this design, then I would have made the lines a little more rugged. And I know that that's a weird thing to say for line art, because why would you make your line art more shaky and weird? But that's because, as far as I know, then Hayley has a very unique way of doing her art, where she has the pen apparently like on the tablet a lot of the time, so she makes these a little more wavy lines, but they don't look amateurish. They actually just look more like some style is added to the line art itself, so it looks a bit more like it's some Tim Burton-y kind of macabre children's book. I really look up to Hayley just because of how she's managed to find this extremely niche and unique art style, even in her like early teens or something. That's very rare for someone to find their completely own voice in the art community like that, without really being comparable to anyone else that I know. But having given all that praise to her channel and just shown exactly how much I love her videos, then she's not the only one out there who certainly managed to create an art style that stands out on its own completely. Number 3. Oh, I'm definitely letting this one introduce itself. Let me introduce to you the art YouTuber AppSelene is definitely weird. Or I guess you could say AppSelene is absolute. No. AppSelene is an art YouTuber that makes a lot more, let's say, niche content than a lot of other art YouTubers out there. And let me put it like this, even if you got the first 2 YouTubers on this list, then I wouldn't expect you to know this one. The bulk of her content is something we in the art community know as animation memes, and while I don't even really know what it is myself, then it just seems to be very short animations. And I mean very short. I mean like half a minute to a minute, tops. Meaning that the YouTube gods will absolutely not be kind to her, so she does have quite a few less subscribers than the other 2 I mentioned, but that doesn't make her content any less freaking cool and awesome to look at. Plus that one art style challenge she did herself was also really cool. Her style seems to be mostly made up of different Japanese themes like yokai or onis and stuff like that, and it's really awesome to look at because it's all blended together with this amazing vibrant color use that I wish I had the ability and confidence to imitate. And in case you want a visual representation of how bold her style is, then her flagship character and the one that she uses to like market her channel is a green troll girl with yellow teeth and red hair. How awesome is that? And she doesn't even look like the one from Shrek. I don't know, maybe that's just me being weird about this niche content. I just really actually also like the vibrancy of all those colors. I really like high contrast, very colorful stuff, despite me actually being somewhat of a mellow person in real life when I'm not on camera geeking about stuff that I like. I guess I'm just drawn to the confidence and the boldness of this as someone who's not nearly at that level yet. But if we actually had to talk about the drawing and me drawing it, then I feel a whole lot less confident about this one compared to the other ones, because I also ran into some very distinct issues with this one. Because I didn't really pay attention to how many parts made up AppSelene's art style and like really made it work well. And one, the padded shoulder things and the kind of puffy dress doesn't really fit into a Japanese theme, does it? So for the first time in this challenge, then I actually had to go and change the wardrobe of the character. That's just, well, like, yeah, I guess that's just the primary problem with this art style. It is that it works very well, but it's not very flexible either. I mean, I bet AppSelene can make it work and twist around her finger exactly how she wants it to, but I can't get it to work for the love of me. And changing a character that's completely like one color into a character design that is, or an art style that's mostly made of a lot of different vibrant colors is very hard. So I tried to sneak some color in there, but I didn't want to derive too far off the original plan either, or the original design either, so it was kind of a compromise between one or the other. It didn't turn out horrible. The anatomy could have gotten a little better, but then again, living up to AppSelene's anatomy skills is freaking, that's a terrible challenge in and of itself. Even her chibi artwork is like extremely well made in terms of anatomy. But you know, while it probably didn't represent the art style as well as some of the others did, then I'm still pretty proud that I was able to live up at least, you know, at least a very, very little bit up to that very, very high standard or that high bar that I set for myself. So, you know, I'll call this challenge completed and successful. But now it's your turn. What are some of your favorite art YouTubers? If you don't really watch art stuff anyway and you're mostly here for like the gaming stuff, then you know, saying other YouTubers is completely fine as well, but try to keep it mostly within like the art region range. We want to keep this an arty place, an artistic place. So if you have any sort of favorite art YouTuber, or maybe not even art YouTuber, just artist in general, write in the comments, because one of my absolute favorite things about art in general is just the different styles and people's preference for styles. I find that so interesting, seeing exactly what like artistically makes them tick. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.